Hello, and good afternoon, everybody. We're glad you can join us for the fourth and final webinar hosted by Blue Corona in partnership with ACCA. I'm Kyle Shannon of Blue Corona, and today we're talking about social media and reviews, and more specifically, what business impact each of these have on your company. Today's webinar is presented by Brandon Doyle, a senior account manager here at Blue Corona and a colleague of mine based out of our Charlotte, North Carolina office. How are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm good, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
That's great, of course. Before I turn it over to you, Brandon, let me tell everyone a little bit about us and what we do here at Blue Corona. We help small and medium-sized businesses. So in other words, ACCA members companies grow faster than their competition using industry-leading marketing frameworks, technology, and strategies. We are a six-time Inc. 5000 recipient, and since we first opened our doors in 2008, and we helped hundreds of small businesses grow by providing the highest value marketing services to our clients. One last thing before we get started. Today, if you have any questions, please type it in the questions box. You might have to click on the little triangle so it points downward instead of sideways in the GoToWebinar control panel. And Brandon will answer as many as he can at the end of the presentation. So Brandon, can you please tell us about social media and reviews?
Sure thing. Thanks, Kyle, again for that introduction, and welcome everybody. As Kyle mentioned, this is the fourth and what will be our last webinar in our partnership with the ACCA. And today, I'm excited to be telling you a little bit about social media and reviews. And one thing, before we jump right in, one thing that's really integral to our success here at Blue Corona is we take a data-driven approach to all of these topics that we've been covering, and that includes social media and reviews. And then what we do with that data is we try to figure out what's the best way to apply that to your website and your overall web presence. And we really take great pride in that. So today, as we walk through all this, that's some things that we're going to keep in mind as we walk through. And what we're actually going to look at today is, if it works, what we are going to look at today is three different things. So one, we're going to look at a useful framework for digital competitive analysis. You're going to hear me say digital competitive analysis a lot throughout this whole thing, and social media and reviews are definitely a part of this summary level digital competitive analysis. And more specifically, what we're going to look at is reviewing the framework in its entirety, and then we're going to look at how many reviews you need to win, and that means how to rank well on Google, how to attract and hire better employees, and then finally we're going to look at how to get more reviews. So ultimately, that's going to be the big takeaway here is how many reviews you need, and then how to go ahead and get some of those. But before we can do that, we need to take a step back and understand that there are several people making decisions based on your website and your online search presence. So people that, first off, may want to become a customer of yours. Other decision makers include job seekers, those who want to come and work for you. And then lastly, the third group, by and large, is potential investors. Now, I'd be lying if I said these are the only decisions people are making based on your website presence. However, these tend to be the big three with a heavy emphasis up in that upper left corner on the dollar sign up there, customers that are either buying your products, hiring you to perform a service. All of us in attendance today, with the exception of myself and Kyle, all of you are in the HVACR industry, whether you're a residential contractor or 100% commercial and on the mechanical side. When we have these conversations with business owners, there's typically an aha moment where we realize that, okay, people aren't just making these decisions based on your website, but they're also looking at your competitor's website and making the same sort of decision. So whether they want to buy from your competitors or not, whether they want to work for your competitors over you, or whether or not they want to invest in your competitor's business. Again, we're going to really focus on those dollar signs and what that means for your business and how social media and reviews and where that fits in. And before we start to dive into the framework, I want to touch on Bill Hoffman, this marketing guru. He once said that and made the claim that high school football teams know more about their rivals than most businesses do. So just think about that for a second. Again, high school football teams know more about their rivals than most businesses do. And as you think about that, maybe that's true for you, maybe that's not true, but when's the last time that you really scouted out the competition in your marketplace? And when I say that, I mean, when's the last time that you not only just visited their website, but did some searches and saw how they were ranking? Do you know what sort of tools they're using on their website, or what sort of strategies they may be investing in, specifically when it comes to the web? And that's what really this digital competitive analysis takes a look at, is finding out the answers to those questions and really starting applying it so that you can make a wise decisions with your marketing dollars and decisions that really have a meaningful impact on your business. So now we're going to get into the framework a little bit, and this digital competitive analysis framework is laid upon the foundation that there's an ocean of data out there. And the problem is with most businesses, regardless of industry size or what you offer, is that most business owners don't know how to navigate or even find access to this data. So what we did was we created this framework and we analyzed over 2,000 companies. So this framework is battle tested across various industries, including the HVAC industry. And we've really narrowed it down to the pieces of the framework that really mattered most. So what we're going to look at today in starting off is tracking and analytics. So tracking and analytics is really the net that surrounds your entire web and digital presence. You know, it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know if you don't track it. And what I mean by that is it's really tough to find the opportunities in your digital marketing strategies in the areas of improvements if you don't even know where those areas of improvements are. So when we look at tracking and analytics, we get an output that looks something like this. And this is a sample digital competitive analysis that you can see where we look at things like how many advertising tools is a competitor utilizing, and more specifically the analytics tools that they're utilizing. So companies B and C right there in the middle clearly have a little bit higher level of sophistication, we believe, based on the amount of tracking tools. Now, whether they're using those correctly or not is another question, but we're able to see how many tools your competitors are using, if any, what sort of tools they are using. Do they simply just have Google Analytics installed on their website, or do they have more advanced tools like heat mapping software to garner UX insights, or other tools to track consumer behavior? So again, companies B and C above, you can see they have a lot more tools set up. They may have a little bit higher sophistication going on. So we're able to utilize this to understand what it is they're tracking, what they're not tracking, and how we can take advantage of that. And the second part of this framework is what we refer to as accessibility. And accessibility really has three key parts, and that is website speed, website mobile friendliness, and website security. So website speed, like how quickly your website loads on a desktop computer, on a tablet device, and then also very important on a cellular device on a smartphone. If you attended one of our webinars a couple months ago, we went pretty in depth on these, but we're going to keep it high level today. But you know, as we start to look at these, we get an output that looks like this, and we're able to say, okay, companies B, C, and D, and our company, we all have mobile-friendly websites. That's great because that is absolutely necessary in 2017 and has been the industry standard for about 2 years now. But some other cool insights we're able to see, again, if what your website is secure or not compared to your competitors, which Google is putting a significant emphasis on in not only 2017, but moving forward. For context, I read a study just this past week that said that 70% of home and garden rankings on page 1 are secure rankings. So what that means is that approximately 70% of rankings for searches like HVAC company near me, or plumber near me, electricians in Charlotte, for example, if you lived in Charlotte where I do, 70% of those page 1 rankings are from secure websites, and Google's moving towards a more secure web. So, you know, again, we're able to garner some of these insights and see where the areas of opportunities are for your company. So those are the first 2 parts. And the third part we like to look at is content. And content is really awesome because this is what's made both not only Blue Corona, but Blue Corona clients so successful over the years, is a defined smart content strategy. And what that means for you is that using digital competitive analysis, we're able to clearly see from an on-site perspective what people, what your company and other companies are doing on their websites, and what content they're publishing, how long that content is, if they have a blog, all these key critical factors. And what we're able to pull out is, you can see here in this example, that company C really has got something huge going on. Now, whether that something huge is working in a positive manner or negative manner for them, we can still dive into, but we can see that they've got something huge. And what that huge thing is the number of pages on their website. So company C has over 200,000 pages on their website, while a lot of the other companies, including your company in that far left over here, has 3,800. Now, there's not a set number of pages that you should shoot for on your website, but we are able to see and follow the basic trend that typically when you have more content, and especially more useful, highly engaging, informative content, and the longer that content is, the better your rankings tend to be on Google. So that's why we look at things like number of pages, the average number of words per page, how many inbound links, are you blogging, do you not have a blog? We're able to garner some of those insights and really tell you and start to put the piece the puzzle together to get a clear picture of what's happening in the marketplace and how you can really turn that into a win for your company, both on Google and in terms of driving more leads and sales. And the fourth part of our framework that we like to look at before we get to social media and reviews is what we've referred to as search visibility. So search visibility, some of you might not be wondering what that means, others maybe not. Search visibility is how well you rank on Google. So our output, what we like to do is we like to take approximately 200 keywords for each client we do these digital competitive analyses for. And what we do is we figure out of those 200 keywords, how many of those are you actually ranking on page 1 of Google for? I'm sure, as you know, you probably very rarely click to page 2 of Google. And what we've found and different studies have shown is that fewer than 20% of all users on Google actually click to a page 2 result. So if it's not page 1, rarely, again, 80% of people, if they don't find it on page 1, they're searching something different or they're trying to find it somewhere else. They're not going to page 2 of Google. And even more specifically, what we found for service-based businesses like HVAC contractors is that number even gets significantly smaller. So instead of 20% of people might be clicking to page 2, that number drops down to about 2% for service contractors, making your page 1 search visibility even more important than ever before. So as we look at this output, we can see company C has roughly 28% of their important keywords to them. They're ranking on page 1 for, while the sample company over there on the far left, is not terribly far behind, but we definitely don't want to be company B or D. Not really sure what they got going on there, but it's clearly not a smart and defined content strategy. And even as we get a little bit further down that click funnel, we know that less than 2% of all searchers for HVAC contractors are actually clicking on the page 2 of Google. Slots 1 through 3 on page 1, the organic listings 1, 2, and 3, typically get between 65 and 70% of all first page clicks. So again, if you're not ranking on page 1 as an HVAC contractor, no one's going to be finding your website. And if you're not ranking in the top 3, barely anybody's going to be clicking on it, even if you are in the 5, 6, 7, 8 range. And finally, we get to social audience and reviews. That's why we're all here today, and that's why you signed up. So again, so far we've looked at tracking and analytics, website accessibility, website content, search visibility, and the final piece being social audience and reviews. And some of the things that we want to look at when we look at social audience and reviews are things like the size of your audience. For example, how many Facebook followers you have and how many page likes you have. If you're a residential HVAC company, Facebook is pretty darn important to you because that's where homeowners oftentimes search for recommendations, or that's where people are sharing contractors and contractor names of who they work with and who they like to work with because you perform really good service, or who they don't want to work with because they've had a negative experience. But some of the other things that we like to look at, for commercial contractors are things like LinkedIn, Glassdoor we like to look at as well, which we'll touch on here in a little bit. And what we've seen is basically the amount of online reviews, both from customers and employees, which are very important, typically correlate to better search rankings. And it's very, very infrequent that correlation is not there. So as we start to look at social media and reviews, we get an output like this. And what you're looking at here is we're able to see, how many Facebook followers you have. So your company, for example, that sample company in the far left, may have approximately 17,000 Facebook followers. And we'll really dive into, are those true Facebook likes, or are they kind of bought from India? You want true Facebook likes from people that are within your service areas, within your communities that you could potentially service, and not people across the country or even in another country across the other half of the globe. But we're also able to look at LinkedIn followers for the commercial side of things and from an employee aspect, as well as if certain companies do and don't have Facebook and LinkedIn profiles. And again, things like reviews on both Facebook, Google, Glassdoor, all these places and across the web are all important factors when it comes to generating new business and hiring new employees. So again, that is the framework of our summary high-level digital competitive analysis. And as we take everything into account in this summary, it becomes a lot easier to navigate that ocean of data and get a precise view of exactly what's going on. And not only can we get a lot of unique insights into all of them, we get kind of a 360-degree look into what your competitors are doing as well, and then how we can position you ahead of them when it comes to internet-based marketing strategies. And that's really how we like to, here at Blue Corona, approach the web, and not only the web, but every client's digital marketing campaign, because as I mentioned before, everybody is making decisions to either hire you, work for you, invest in you, or buy from you. And you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward on all fronts so that you can get as much business through the web as possible. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into our social media and reviews part of that. As Kyle mentioned, if you do have a question, maybe some have already trickled in already, but if you do have a question, go ahead and hit that little triangle in the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel, and you'll be able to type in your question from there. And again, we'll go have time to answer any questions you guys may have at the end of this session, and we'll be sure to get to as many as possible. So as we look at your social media and your social audience and your reviews around the internet, we're going to cover exactly how these can help you generate more web-driven leads, real business that impacts your company's bottom line. And we want you to walk away with some actionable takeaways. But before we can do that, what we really need to look at is, and the question we need to ask really is, why do reviews matter? Are they really that important? And the answer is yes, they truly are. I'm sure a lot of you early on in your business days, and even probably still currently, relied on word-of-mouth referrals when you first started your business. Or maybe you happen to take over mom and dad's business that already had an established customer base, or maybe you acquired another business that heavily relied on customer referrals and a referral base. But as we talk more and more with heating and cooling companies, they all say the same thing, is that not only referrals are huge, but online referrals are growing, and online word of mouth. And nowadays, people aren't just asking their neighbors and their family and friends who they recommend. They're turning to the web and looking for the opinion of strangers that they hardly even know. And as we look at this, a recent study by Bright Local, an industry leader in the digital marketing world, recently published a study that said that 84% of consumers are trusting anonymous online reviews just as much as a personal recommendation. So again, let that sink in. 84% of people are trusting the opinions and what strangers have to say just as much as those that they know and love or have known for many years. So as we start to think about that, kind of ask yourself, the last time maybe you bought something on Amazon or hired a contractor to remodel your kitchen, made any sort of decision online from a consumer standpoint, did you happen to look at company reviews, product reviews? The last time you might have had to install a new breaker panel because you guys can probably install your own air conditioning units, did you look at reviews for the different equipment? And there's a lot of other statistics like this out there that are really compelling and make the argument that you as an HVAC contractor should be getting more customer reviews. For example, in the same study, Bright Local found that 92% of customers read online reviews before taking any action. So whether they even pick up the phone and call you or fill out a web form on your website, 92% of consumers are reading those reviews. And out of those, 94% would say that they would hire a business with a 4-star rating above. So you don't even have to have a perfect 5.0 star rating. People are okay with hiring someone who just has a 4.1 or even a 3.9, but 4 is really the mark you want to shoot for. And then lastly, which I think is really compelling too, out of that same study, is that 40% of consumers form an opinion about your company from just reading anywhere from 1 to 3 reviews. So again, if some of those other numbers I threw at you just now didn't do the trick and didn't convince you otherwise, 40% of the consumers that read your reviews are making a decision potentially based off one review that they read from your company. So for example, if you have 10 Google Plus reviews, but the most recent one happens to be your only 1-star and the rest are 5 stars, someone could potentially making a purchasing decision based on that one person's review. So it's really important, to not only try to get as many reviews as possible, but to get them in the right places and to get those 4- and 5-star reviews so that when someone searches for example, furnace repair and your reviews pop up, they're seeing you're putting your best foot forward and they're taking the words of the strangers who took the time to review you, your current customers, into consideration. So as we look at reviews, again, there's really 2 types of reviews, and those are customer reviews, and the second is employee reviews. So customer reviews probably apply to everyone here. Employee reviews, maybe not so much, but it's something you should definitely consider. And as we look at that, at specifically customer and employee reviews, there's certain places to get the customer reviews and then other places to get the employee reviews. Customer reviews, again, things like Facebook, Google+, Yelp, Home Advisor if you invest in Home Advisor. Those are all places that you want to get as many reviews as possible. And again, as many 4- and 5-star reviews as possible. While employee reviews, things like LinkedIn and Glassdoor can provide a huge benefit for attracting, hiring, and retaining top-level talent. And for those of you that are sitting there possibly Googling Glassdoor on a second screen or wondering what it is, you really should investigate it further. And again, we'll cover it here shortly, but Glassdoor is great from a hiring standpoint. But we're going to focus on customer reviews first. And what we found at Blue Corona, and this is an actual study we did of all ACCA members earlier this year, and what we found is that 56% of ACCA members have less than 10 Google reviews. Now, some of you might be thinking that 10 is a lot. Some might be thinking that 10 is very, very few. But that number, 56%, is alarming because on average, it takes about 10 reviews to rank within the Google Maps listings on Google. And then 10 is also just a good number to shoot for, so you don't just have 2 or 3 compared to some of your local competitors in the market. But what's even more astounding than that 56% of members don't have less than 10 reviews is that 17% of ACCA members have 0 Google reviews. 17. There's over 2,500 ACCA members, and 17% of them have 0 Google Plus reviews. And I cannot tell you how important Google Plus reviews are to get, because when you Google things like furnace repair in New Jersey, like I did to get this screenshot, you start to see, and I've blurred out here some identifiable information for these other companies, but what you see is that take a look at this maps listings. The first contractor who appears in the maps listings has a 4.8 star rating. That's fantastic, but 243 Google reviews. 243. Some of you sitting here today might not have 243 total reviews when you start to include Facebook, Yelp, Home Advisor, Google, Angie's List, wherever you are. You might not have 243 total, and this contractor's got 243 on Google alone. And then we start to look at the second contractor here in the maps listings, a little bit lower rating, but 605 reviews. And the third one, a 4.7 star rating with 178. So the competition for not only getting reviews is increasing, but the competition within those maps listings are ranking as well, or excuse me, are getting more competitive as well to rank in the maps listings. And if you don't walk away with anything today, I hope you walk away with that. Reviews matter for your Google listings, and you should start getting as many 5- and 4-star reviews as possible on Google and Facebook. And of course anywhere else, but especially on Google and Facebook. So again, as we start to think back at our 56% of members have less than 10 reviews, that's really troublesome. So how do you go and get more online reviews? That can be a loaded question, but the first step is just to ask. And asking can come in the form of many ways. It can be in the form of an office administrator emailing out, following up. But the best way to do it is to use review platforms like Review Us Now. For example, Review Us Now is a great way to mass email a customer list that you have at once in order to not only get more reviews, but the cool thing about Review Us Now is that this review platform funnels your 4- and 5-star review directly to Google and Facebook and keeps anything else, so any part of 3 stars, 3.8, 3.9 and under, keeps it internally and gets funneled directly back to your CSR reps so that you can handle that and address that customer's concerns internally and keep your 4- and 5-star ratings strictly on Google so you can increase your aggregate rating and increase those chances of ranking in the maps listings. And Review Us Now certainly is not the only one. It's the one we like here at Blue Corona, but there's things like Review Buzz, which some of you may or may not use or have heard of, Customer Lobby, or even Nearby Now. All of these are great tools to go ahead and get and start creeping those review numbers up into, if you're at 0, just try to get 5 to start. And once you hit 5, try to get 10. 10, try to get to 25 and 50. And before you know it, you're going to have not only a great 4- or 5-star rating on Google, but you might have yourself, 100, 200, maybe even 600 reviews on Google, and therefore increasing your chances to rank in those maps listings, and not only in the maps listings, but ranking organically across Google as well. So again, as we look at customer reviews, there's a few unique advantages that they have as a takeaway. So one, they provide fresh, unique content. Fresh, unique content for Google. So when someone searches for heating and air conditioning contractors near them, or furnace repair, or heat pump installation, when they're looking for the services you offer, Google is seeing fresh, unique review content on your own Google My Business page, and it's going to help you rank better on SERPs, or what are referred to as search engine results pages, on page 1 of Google. And the second advantage is customer perception. You yourself, are you going to buy a product that maybe has a 1-star overall rating, or are you going to buy the 5-star product? Chances are you're more likely to buy the 5-star product, and the same with the customers that are looking for you. The customer perception from a user experience standpoint, customer reviews and high quality customer reviews hold a lot of value in that. And not only are they helping shape your customer perception of your company, customers are more likely to book service and contact you and buy from you as well. Again, whether that's a repair call that might eventually lead to a replacement, or they just need a maintenance or a cleanup, system cleaning or tune-up, customers are going to be more likely to schedule and buy from you. And then finally, you're going to get more positive ranking signals sent to Google. Customer reviews are great because A smart digital marketing company can also utilize those reviews from an on-site standpoint and incorporate them into your various web pages on your website to send more positive ranking signals to Google other than what Google's picking up from Google My Business or from Facebook or Yelp. And you're going to send more positive ranking signals to them, therefore increasing your chances of ranking, again, in those Google Maps listings or in numbers 1, 2, and 3 rankings for your key services in your service areas. All right. So now we're going to take a look at employee reviews. And more specifically, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about Glassdoor. If you haven't heard of Glassdoor, Glassdoor is now the second largest job site in the entire U.S. And that was as of August 2017. With more than 48 million unique visitors per month, people are turning to Glassdoor more and more to find jobs, in HVAC technician jobs specifically, or even administrative jobs if they're a customer service rep. And I know as I talk with my clients all the time, one of the things that you're constantly saying to me is, Brandon, I can't find anyone who's reliable. I'm really finding hard time finding techs who want to come work for me, but then also they stay a while and they build a career. It's not just a stepping block for them to do something else, or even technicians that homeowners are comfortable bringing into their home. And Glassdoor helps you find those types of candidates. And how they do that is, they've put together this really interactive, job searching platform that, as you can see here, this is another screenshot for a search I did again yesterday for HVAC technician, and I used my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. And what you get as a potential new hire is a screen like this. And again, I've blurred out some information, but you can see over on that left-hand side, it tells you the different companies that are hiring for service technicians or are seeking help. And not only that, you see that first ranking right there has a 4.1 star rating. So current and former employees are able to rate your company and tell other potential employees how awesome it is to work with you. Or on the flip side, if it isn't. Now that may be scary to some of you, but at the same time, if you're actively monitoring your Glassdoor profiles and set one up and seeking those positive reviews, it shouldn't be scary. It should be something you utilize to your advantage. So as you can see here, this review that I'm looking at right here on this right-hand side is, an okay review from a former employee that used to work here in Charlotte. Looks like he's located in California now, but good starting point for sales, wouldn't stay longer than a year. Is that the best foot forward that your company would want to be putting out there? Would you want that reputation out there for your company? Probably not. From a starting point, yes, but if you're trying to attract and retain the best employees, reviews like this aren't necessarily the best. But again, one cool thing about Glassdoor is you don't have to be a former employee to leave a review. You can ask your current employees as well. And that's when you might get a review that looks something like this. This company as well that I found using the same sort of search has a 4.2 star rating, so a little bit better than that last company we looked at. But you get reviews where it says, great place to work. They make it a family-like atmosphere. It doesn't feel like work. And oh, by the way, they pay very well. So not only does Glassdoor give candidates the capability to leave reviews about your company and their experience working for you, it allows both, you can ask those current employees to leave positive reviews too. And again, this doesn't have to be scary, and you don't have to ask everyone for reviews. For example, if probably a very rare occasion, but if there is a disgruntled employee who ends up leaving your company, you don't have to ask them for the review. And on the flip side, if you do have current employees that love it and have been working for you as an installer or maybe a repair guy for several years, ask them to leave their honest feedback. And that's, again, not something you don't have to directly ask them for review right out of the gate. You can simply sit them down and have a conversation with them and see and kind of pick their brain. And then if they have positive things to say, ask them to leave those on Glassdoor. And I say all of this just to reiterate that in order to hire and retain the best employees, you have to be the best. and Glassdoor and LinkedIn really help you do that. And again, with Glassdoor specifically, with more than 35 million reviews and of over 1 million companies, both the mammoths in your industry, the big time players in your marketplace, are probably found on Glassdoor. And if you're that mammoth, then you should be there as well. And again, putting your best foot forward. So as we look at employee reviews, again, getting employee reviews and feedback is great because it allows you to be the best in your market. If someone Googles Blue Corona, again, our company, you're going to see our website listed #1 on Google, and then you're also right underneath it, you see our Glassdoor profile. And the same thing happens for HVAC companies around the country. If people are starting to look into your company, whether that be because they got it from a Facebook recommendation or because they got it from a neighbor, your Glassdoor profile may be claimed or unclaimed. If it's unclaimed, go claim it, because that means that former employees, both if they have positive or negative things to say, can leave reviews without even you knowing it. So go and claim that and be the best in your market. And again, you want to attract, hire, and maintain the best employees, something that's becoming increasingly difficult as the trades industry struggles to get millennials especially, but new hires to come into their industry and make a career out of the trades. And not only that, you're able to influence multiple decision makers. So not only are you influencing the decision maker that wants to come work for you, again, if people are Googling your company to find if you're a reputable and reliable company, and they see 5-star customer reviews, and then they see the employees love your company as well, chances are they're going to want to hire you to do their work because they know that they're working, back to #1, the best in the market. And not only that, employees always want to work for the best company, whether that's me here at Blue Corona or your technicians. Everyone wants to work for a world-class company and the best company, and Glassdoor specifically helps you, accomplish that. So kind of taking a step back away from just employee reviews and coming back to customer reviews as well, there's several takeaways that we want you guys to walk away with. And again, people are making decisions based on your web presence and online reviews, whether they want to hire you, whether they want to work for you or invest with you. And the second takeaway should be to get those customer reviews and employee reviews. Again, whether it's your admin person in the office or you sitting down at night emailing all the customers and homeowners that you visited today and asking politely for reviews if they had good service. That's the step 1. Step 2 would be working with one of those review platforms like Review Us Now to help you get those reviews and accelerate your review count to increase your chances of ranking high up on Google's page 1. And not only that, and again, we want to emphasize that review platforms help accelerate that, but you should start now. As you can see, and as you go ahead to Google and search some of the searches that you would want to be ranking for, and see how many reviews that the other companies have, your competitors have. Again, just kind of like pages on a website, there's no set number of reviews that you definitely want, but you should always aim to have as many as you can and as many 4 and 5 stars. If you Google HVAC contractor and enter your city, and your competitors each have 10, 11, and 12 in the maps listings, shoot for 15. If they have 100, start small and work your way up. Are you going to get 100 overnight? No, but you can get there over time and start to be able to compete in those maps listings. And with that, if you want help or more information about how social media and reviews can impact your business bottom line and help you generate more leads and sales, we're happy to help you out. You can do one of two things. You can either head on over to bluecorona.com/ACCA. Again, that's Blue Corona, blue like the color, Corona like the beer, .com/ACCA. And there, not only will you be able to find rewatch this webinar if you want to go back and learn anything, or if I might have gone too fast. But in the middle of that page, you'll see we're giving away exclusive for ACCA members complimentary summary digital competitive analyses. So if you'd like a digital competitive analysis looking at that framework from tracking analytics all the way through social media and reviews, go to bluecorona.com/ACCA and fill out that form, and we'll get started on it right away. Our current turnaround time on those summary digital competitive analyses is about 1 to 2 weeks. It is a holiday month, as I'm sure you're all well aware how busy the holidays get. So we do have a little bit of a lag time right now, but we'll be sure to get not only digital competitive analysis over to you and see how you're performing on the web, but also your 3 top competitors. And we'll work with you to both identify those if you need help, or if you can give us your top 3 competitors and we'll look at them for you. So again, that's bluecorona.com/ACCA. Or if you'd like, you can go ahead and just email me at brandon@bluecorona.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Again, that's just my first name, brandon@bluecorona.com. Send me an email, ask me any questions you have, and I'll be sure to answer them. And before I turn it back over to Kyle, I just want to thank everybody who was in attendance today. We appreciate your time, and we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I hope you guys all found that very insightful and informative. As I mentioned previously, if you got a question, you can click the little triangle next to the questions in the GoToWebinar control panel and type them in. On behalf of Brandon and I, while those trickle in, I wanted to thank you each and every one of you for attending. As we mentioned, this is our final webinar of 2017, and we're always excited to work with any business. But we really enjoy working with heating and cooling companies like yourselves. I also wanted to extend a thank you to ACCA for being an amazing partner. Ultimately, like ACCA, we want to help businesses grow, and ACCA is a fantastic partner to do that with. So it looks like we have some questions coming in. The first question we have, Brandon, if you're ready, what's the ideal number of reviews?
Thanks, Kyle. Again, when it comes to an ideal number of reviews, the more the merrier. To say 25 and you're going to rank #1 in the Google Maps listings is a lie. To say 50 or 100 is another lie. You just want to have as many as you can and always shoot for that next closest competitor. So again, go to Google, search some of your keywords, things like furnace repair. I know it's getting cold in the Northeast and potentially here in Charlotte as well, and there's a couple storms coming. So furnace repair, furnace replacement. Start Googling your services and see how many reviews your competitors have who are consistently ranking in the Maps listings. And if someone's got 600, like we saw in that screenshot a few slides back, don't just try to go from 0 to 600. Just go again from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, and work your way up. And again, working with a review platform can really help you not only get 4- and 5-star reviews, but get a lot of 4- and 5-star reviews so that customers are not only reading them, our potential customers reading them, but they are formulating a positive opinion of your company.
All right, thank you. And the next one we have here is, where's the most important place to get reviews?
That is also a very good question. I would definitely say Google is #1. When Google is the dominating search engine when it comes to home services and really any industry, having close to 70% of the entire search market. So Google and Google Plus, and Google, also referred to as Google My Business, is going to be the place that you want to get reviews first. Start there. It's where the star ratings and numbers in the Maps listings are populated from your Google My Business page. So start with Google, and once you're at a comfortable number there, I would suggest moving to Facebook. And that doesn't mean ignore Google altogether. Just work Facebook into your request, and as you funnel people to leave reviews. Facebook, Google is also pulling in Facebook reviews and reviews from Home Advisor and different places around the web when they show kind of your company in that knowledge graph, that right-hand area. They pull in other reviews besides Google Plus. Now, Google Plus populates the Maps listings, but they do look elsewhere. So start with Google, move to Facebook. And then after there, just kind of an even spread between anywhere else you may be found. Again, whether that's HomeAdvisor, Angie's List, Yelp. I know some people have mixed reviews about all those platforms, but start with Google, then Facebook, and then move elsewhere.
All right, thank you. The next one we have here, is it considered fake or dishonest to ask current employees for reviews? They may get awkward if they're negative.
So I agree, things could get awkward. Not knowing how an employee would rate your company or even you as an owner, particularly on Glassdoor when we start looking at those CEO ratings. But one thing to remember is, again, it doesn't always have to start with asking for a review. You can talk with your current employees and just pick their brain about their job and their career and what they're doing and how they perceive the company. And then if there's positive signs, then prompt them for the review. And no, it's not fake or disingenuous at all, assuming that the employee, is telling the truth. Again, starting with a conversation to see how what their feelings are is something I always suggest. That way, if there are some frustrations, those aren't just reflected on Glassdoor. It's something you could handle internally with them. But at the same time, no, definitely not disingenuous or fake at all to leave a review as a current employee.
All right, thank you, Brandon. The second one is a great one. How much do reviews really impact search visibility?
That I agree, Kyle. That is probably the best question asked so far. Google has not come out and said one way or another how much reviews impact search visibility. What we can do is take that ocean of data that's out there and the studies that Bright Local, us, and other companies have done and look at trends. And when we look at those trends, again, what we see is that companies with more reviews, and especially more 4- and 5-star reviews, rank better on Google organic listings, tend to rank better in the 1 through 3 spots, and have a higher, much higher chance of ranking in Google Maps listings. So again, no one knows exactly how much, with the exception of Google, how much they come into play. But we have seen data that does show not only are you going to rank better, that if you incorporate reviews on your web pages with the proper schema markup and different things, that those are all positive ranking signals, and that will be translated over to Google, and you should see an increase in rankings.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Well, I believe that is all we have time for, at least all the questions that have been submitted. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. As Brandon mentioned, this will be recorded, so you can access it with the URL provided, along with any questions you have forwarded to him. So thank you to ACC and everybody attending, and have a great holiday.